All this stuff that we're going to talk about today are things you can do right in your office, right at your desk, right in your living room when you're babysitting. It's stuff that is going to be very accessible and very easy to implement, but it's going to make a world of difference. So that's why I'm, really excited about what we have to talk about today. Welcome to the Journey to Your Best Self podcast, brought to you by Your One Self. As always, I'm your host, Brian O'Neill. And as always, my co-host is Andrew Mashokumu. Together, we'll explore the transformative journey of self-discovery and holistic integration. Our purpose is to provide ancient wisdom and evidence-based methods, allowing you to merge your mind, body, and spirit into a harmonious whole. Alongside us today, we are blessed to have Tara O'Neill, a clinical hypnotherapist, certified life coach, and yoga instructor. Let's dive in and embark on this journey together. 3, 2, 1, we're alive and in living color. Welcome back to another episode of the Journey to Your Best Self podcast. As always, I'm your host, Brian O'Neill, and I'm joined by the talented and insightful regular guest of ours, Tara. Tara O'Neill, hello.
Hello. Wonderful to be here. As always, I'm so excited to share some wonderful knowledge.
So one of the things that we promote continuously, and one of the main foundational pieces of Your One Self and Journey to Your Best Self is the mind-body-spirit connection. And we have been focused on a lot of mind and spirit stuff. This episode, we're going to really give the body its respect, right, that it deserves. So we're going to do something a little bit different, and we're going to focus on how a healthy body and a body that's taken care for and nourished and treated well is going to connect with the mind and spirit and positively influence both of those. So over the next several minutes, we're going to dive into how the body, and I know that you want to speak on how spinal health and therefore the nervous system is the foundation to everything else. So that is really a conduit that's going to connect the body to the mind, to the nervous system. And we have hinted at that and touched on that in previous episodes. But do you want to, right off the bat, just talk about how spinal health is critical?
Yeah, we did touch a little bit on the nervous system. And if you recall, the spine was really important as a way to send messages throughout the body and is impactful in the process of being in either fight or flight or rest and digest. And so we can, if with good spinal health, we can have overall really good health. And that might be a little bit of an oversimplification, though we're going to show you exactly what you need to do on a day-to-day basis to ensure that there is motility within the spine so that it can naturally help regulate the nervous system so that you, as you go in and out of the different regulated states, it's doing so in a smooth way, in the path of least resistance.
And I think that in a lot of traditional exercise styles and modalities and forms, people tend to focus more on, say, the muscles or those summertime parts of the body, and then also maybe the lungs and maybe cardio too, depending on what your preference is. But there might not be a lot of people that are outside of the yoga sphere that do focus on the spine. So I think this is a great opportunity to just show the importance of that part of your body. Really, really critical. On the body, let's start off by exploring the concept of the body as a sacred vessel, right? So it's the physical form that carries us through life. A lot of folks, say with that temple analogy that it's really on point because it's where the mind and the spirit reside. So again, you have all three of them connected and feeding off of each other. And just like any other structure or machine, if you have three columns or foundations, if if one is ebbing or weakened, it's going to affect the other too. And I think that a lot of the times when we talk about your oneself and your true self and self-actualization, the body can be an afterthought to a lot of people. So we want to really impress upon those listening and following along that it's essential for self-actualization. We'll touch on some of the personal experiences and anecdotes that we both have, but can you speak on how it's part of the triumvirate, the three pillars that we talk about, and how it's a critical piece?
Absolutely. Yeah. A wonderful way to explain it. Think of a tripod, right? Mind, body,
Mm.
spirit as a tripod. Like you take one away, like it's not going to be sturdy to hold up whatever it is that you want to hold up. So thinking of it as needing all three. And we're aiming for it being more of a practice than perfection. And that's why we're going to give you some tools that you can do. So I like to think of it as more movement than when we say like working out or physical activity, like, or I'm sorry, I should say like, doesn't have to be going to a workout class or going to the gym, like, or going to a full yoga class. These are all wonderful things, but we're saying like movement is so, and back to the whole nervous system, like to review that the central nervous system is made up of the brain and the spinal cord, right? And so it works like a network, relaying important messages between the different parts of the body. So if we're in a fight or flight, like it's going to say like, okay, danger, danger, danger. And that's going to tense everything up. Well, one nice benefit of get you back down into calm when you don't need to be, in a fight or flight, a more constant or chronic fight or flight. We want to make sure we're down regulating like much more than most of us actually are. So
Yeah, no,
yes,
and to that point, a lot of the first season of episodes that we have are, I don't want to say introductory because that I don't want to invalidate their importance, but they're accessible. They're accessible to everyone listening and following along. And we intentionally designed the trajectory of the podcast for that reason. So we had 5 ways to mitigate stress, 5 sleep strategies, 5 ways to deal with overwhelm, and a lot of things that anyone listening could easily do. And for this first real body centric episode, we wanted to make it accessible to anyone that was listening. So for a couple of reasons, you're not just going to start off powerlifting or running a half marathon, right? Well, if you're just getting into exercise and movement and learning to know your body and testing it out. And 2, we want these strategies and techniques and assists that we're providing to be useful like almost immediately. So one of the things that we had talked about is not really recommending or discussing things that you would need equipment for or you would really need to go to a certain location, right? So it's not going to be anything where the best thing is get with water, get to your nearest pool and do laps for 20 minutes, right? Or head out to the gym right away. Or the only thing you need is a bench, 200 pounds of weights, right? All this stuff that we're going to talk about today are the things you could do right in your office, right? Right at your desk, right in your living room when you're babysitting. It's stuff that is going to be very accessible and very easy to implement, but it's going to make a world of difference. So that's why I'm, really excited about what we have to talk about today.
absolutely, absolutely. And even for the seasoned athlete, these tips are great. And I'll use myself as an example of
As
a
the seasoned athlete? Wait,
well,
what?
doing my
Okay.
share of
You tell
exercise.
us the reveals that you get on this podcast are, incredible.
Thanks. So when I was there was a time in my life when I was very stressed out and I was doing hot yoga, like 90-minute hot yoga.
Mhm.
And afterwards I would, drink a cup of coffee and go right back into fight or flight. So I was almost often offsetting some of the benefits of exercise, right? So it is to live in a more of a like a flow state, not like this like go 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 go. So we can learn for someone that might be a little bit more type A with their exercise and needing to get a very intense exercise. I invite you to ensure that you are doing things that bring you down into a rested state, or take inventory and assess, like, are you actually coming back down? Are you coming down for that shavasana or that few minutes after your exercise where you're like, wow, I feel really good. Oh, but I gotta go, to work. So let me, get my stimulants back on and get wired up. So it's a balance. And that's what we're trying to teach and create, like, more like ways for life, and maybe not so much of a zealousness, which I've had over the course of my journey. And not to say, and I'm not obviously turning anyone from their like intense exercise, but I know specifically sometimes for women, those hits and those really high workouts, they can mess with our yin and yang. So if you do study some of the traditional Chinese medicine, like, you don't want to, or some people might realize it more as high cortisol levels. You don't want to have chronic high cortisol levels, because it could, and for that as well, could potentially mess with your hormones, certain times. Just throwing that in there, and a little, like you said, this is for everyone, right? So we want to make sure, just like we stress with meditation, if you don't do your 20 minutes and then the rest of the day, like, you're just like not living in any sort of mental peace. You want to maintain that and work that into your whole life to integrate it.
Absolutely. And I totally agree. And I'm just thinking about you and your athletic prowess that you hinted at. We will definitely revisit that in later episodes. Now, the back, is something that's very connected to the spine. So if some people might, not even like my spine, like, just learned about it, science, and we've touched on it. We know it's critical in kind of the yoga sphere, as I mentioned. But if you have back pain that's reoccurring, that in a way is connected too. And then you'll realize, a lot of people that do get back pain realize, I never really thought about my body and taking care of it, but then that's so nagging a lot of the times and really hard to get right. It's best not to wait until that happens. A lot of the times people will start looking into different things to do and taking care of their body after it happens, but it's always good to be proactive, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to have those issues, and then you have to work that much harder to get the alignment right if you're starting decades into having bad habits. I know we always talk about. So even if you don't think this is the message that you need to hear, or you're good to go, or you got good posture, so my spine must be fine, or something like that, it's definitely really important to take care of yourself. Back muscle is the biggest muscle, the lats, and then that mid back there is the largest muscle group in the body. So that's all as well to the spine. So just really critical to be mindful of that part of your body. Now, I know that you had some ways of connecting with the spine. Is that going to be revealed in future Serenity sessions?
Yeah. I'm going to share a Serenity session of a breathing meditation visualization of clearing the energy centers. So in many Eastern traditions, they have what we call often chakras or energy centers. And these are, you could imagine if there was a location for them to be along the spine, right? And so they're more etheric, and it is really helpful when visualizing to do so through the spine. And I'm excited to share that with you. So to the more esoteric version, the spine is our antenna to the universe. And this is where the life force energy, or prana, or chi, and this is the central channel. In yoga, we call it the Sushumnadi. And that's where the Kundalini energy can enter at the base of the spine and go up and into the connected to the universe. And so this is just, I'm just sharing information. There's no belief system that needs to be had around it. And so you could do the meditation. It's for everyone. But it's really helpful when we're doing these visualizations and meditations to get ourselves out of our head, right? If we focus our attention somewhere else, and what better way to have that mind-body connection happening is bring it to the body. So we're bringing our awareness, our attention to our body. We're getting that flow, right? Where your attention goes, your energy flows.
Excellent. So critical. We can't, and the fact that we're getting a separate, unique Serenity session tells you how crucial and important we believe the spine is, for sure. Speaking about stepping away or looking outside of yourself and that spiritual connection, can you talk about the third eye? I just like saying that. So you can talk about the actual name of the gland, but can you talk about the third eye and how it's crucial? You can't really get there without the proper physical health of the spine and the nervous system. So getting to nourishing that gland starts with taking care of the spine and the nervous system. So can you speak a little bit about the third eye and how that's all connected to this?
Absolutely. And there is a mix of science in with the spirituality part of it, because we do have a pineal gland. And so the pineal gland, which sometimes people say refers to a pine cone, which is the shape of many of the Buddha statues. And so it is supposed to be the spiritual center. And this is, when activated, it gives us the neurotransmitters and the hormones in order to reach our full potential. And so it is connected into the spine, into the nervous system. And so one of the reasons why I so often stress not being in chronic fight or flight is because this is when we can activate the pineal gland, right? And proper movement, proper physical exercise is necessary for this activation or proper function of the pineal gland. So in a spiritual sense, it can open up your superhuman abilities. Joe Dispenza has a wonderful book, Becoming Supernatural. So you might check that out if you want to dive a little deeper into everyone's innate psychic ability. So yeah, I can talk forever about this, but that's just a little sneak peek into the pineal gland. We want, and another way to help the pineal gland, aside from exercise, is nutrition. So clean water and proper nutrition is going to be helpful in keeping all the faculties in our brain to capacity.
Yeah, diet, exercise, meditation, that's all going to play a role in nourishing the temple that is your body. So all super important.
And they go hand in hand. And so they go both ways, right? So this will get you to help activate the pineal gland, but in turn, the pineal gland activated will also get you to be able to reach, more states of peace and calm and joy. So, it's a really cool interconnection.
And one of the most critical roles exercise plays, to reiterate, because it can never be said too much, is regulating our nervous system, right? So that's something that you've really impressed upon me over the years. And it's so evident that so many of us out there are stuck in survival mode, in a constant fight or flight state because of the stress and anxiety of the modern world around us, and the jobs and keeping up with the Joneses and two-income families and children and everything else that we have going on, and the signals that we're getting from news and media where we're supposed to be or what we're supposed to be doing, and just life in the modern age that really pushes us towards fight or flight. So one of the things that we can get out of physical health and exercise and movement is a mental clarity and spiritual growth. What do you think about that?
Absolutely, exactly. And so we will constantly define, like you so nicely articulated, survival mode and fight or flight, right?
Hmm.
This is the stress state. This is activated. It has become the norm. Now,
Mm.
we might not even identify it as such. We're inviting people, do their experiments on themselves to strengthen their mind, body, spirit, health. Can you share exercise has helped you along your journey? How
Yeah, I
you
can
notice
absolutely.
the benefits?
It's definitely something that I have used to get me into a space of healing and growth. And initially, when you are exercising or starting out for the first time, it seems counterintuitive that you're going to get to a place of healing and growth, because when you start doing it moderately and you get more advanced, it is pretty damn taxing on the body. But reflecting when I do take time off, on how much better I feel, mind, body, and soul, when I'm very consistent, it's just obvious that it does wonders for you. So I guess one story could be, I had been doing a lot of weightlifting and working out and with weights. And then I had wanted to get into a better place as far as cardio goes. So I had the idea of starting to run. And I just figured I would shortcut it instead of working my way up to that point, and went right into, I guess the analogy would be just day one trying to do transcendental meditation, having fasted like 2 hours before and 2 hours after, and doing it for an hour or something, right? So I just decided to just go 5K. Didn't have running shoes or anything, like no warm up. And I did that for a couple of days, and my feet and shins and the ankles were just like killing me. My feet were throbbing, and they were like pins and needles. It was like really bad. And it was almost like they were numb, and I thought I could just power through it in several weeks, but it was a great learning experience that you have to listen to your body, right? So the first day I should have just listened to my body. I ended up down the road in a week or two going to like a running store and getting fitted for shoes, finding out if I was like a heel to toe runner versus a toe to heel versus a flat footed runner, get if a more airy sole versus a more to the ground, foot to earth shoe was going to be best for me, and that in itself almost fixed things. And I was doing a little pre-run warm-up as well, so all that ended up working out. And then I realized I started to get kind of a runner's high once that was out of the way, and I was really able to absorb and get the benefits of that clarity that you get when you exercise, right? You start to get better posture, you start to breathe better because you're running, and then the breath work is connected with that running, and you're starting to utilize those breaths better, and the whole blood vessel system in your body's working, your heart, everything's working better. So that was a great experience for me. And then just lifting in general, I mean, another quick one with teaching, coffee is very much caffeine addiction. Well, addiction might be strong, but caffeine use is very comorbid with education for a lot of people. And I noticed that when I'm in my groove with treating that body part of the tripod well, I don't even need caffeine. In fact, I don't even use it when I'm really in a zone and I'm consistent. Especially if you start out early, just like your meditations and your yoga practice and your mindfulness. If you start out early, it puts you on trajectory for a great balanced day. So that would be my experience. Definitely starting early, being consistent, and getting that clarity that even if you aren't in the yoga or even yoga adjacent space, it's a great, because you get into a meditative state and you get focused a lot of times when you're working out. That's another benefit of it too, right? And a lot of what I'm talking about is down the road, other episodes, but those are just some stories of successes that I've had with the exercise. And I'm sure that with the hot yoga, you can speak on that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I do. So, well, that's amazing. Thank you very much for sharing. I think that's going to be really helpful for some people. Definitely, like maybe a couple things to be don't get discouraged, right? If you're working out in a few days, like after a few days you're sore and like I don't really feel any benefits, like that's the consistency part. Like do it for 30 days. And if you don't like it after 30 days, try something different, right? So make sure you give it some time. So consistency doesn't mean keep running till you don't feel your feet, right? It might mean after your feet are numb, you do some upper body work or you go, do some rowing, you switch it up, right? So you do want to like you said, learn to listen to your body. And there is a fine line, especially since we've been talking about the no pain, no gain in our culture. But in yoga, we definitely are big about listening to the body. But one thing and as a, I don't, you're going to laugh at me, but as an avid runner, as somebody who likes to jog and run, uh,
You know someone who likes to do
I
those things?
yeah, yes, I do. I mean, Avid go through phases,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm on the up phase, and
Mm-hmm.
I really
Inspired by
find,
those Olympic athletes, right?
yeah, no, there is a serenity, a peace that I get with being in nature
Mm-hmm.
and running and getting that like pace. Like that, when you get that pace and you could just run forever,
Yeah.
feels like it. Like
Mm-hmm.
that to me is the flow state. And it's like how beautiful it is that like your mind, your body, and your spirit are working, in tandem. And so I do encourage, it doesn't have to be running, but
Mm-hmm.
while yoga will always be in my life, it almost brings all the systems on board, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a jump start to the system when you are able to use your and move, right? Andrew
Yeah.
does talk about this importance of walking or running or forward movement in just our evolutionary beingness, the importance of that for your mental and physical health. So
Sure.
that might be something to note, those walks around the block, or even just getting up and day up.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking when you were talking, and we're going to be talking about nature in the future episode, we definitely don't need to jump right into the running stage necessarily if you're just getting started, but hiking is a great place as well to get to that spot too, bro. Because when you do get that runner's high and you get in that zone and you keep going, that can be amazing. But eventually, if you start hiking and you can get into almost a hiking zone too, where you can walk like miles after like really quite a distance, and that can do a lot. And that ancillary benefit is that can also burn a ton of calories too and really slim you down. So the hiking, especially when the weather's really beautiful right now and it will be for the next several months, definitely take advantage.
Yeah.
So as we close things for this episode, we had come up with a handful of exercises that we thought would be accessible, easy to remember. I would say novice level as far as their intricacy, really safe, and have like immediate benefit. So did you want to start us off with one or two that you recommended?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And again, remembering the importance of, yes, having a physical practice, but also throughout the day, movement throughout the day. And sitting is not great for our spine. And so if you can get a standing desk, if you can sit on the ball, whatever you can do, just do make sure that you're giving yourself a little break from sitting. Because, I think every has to be a chiropractor to note that we're not meant to sit in chairs upright like this for 9 hours a day. So go ahead throughout your day, take those breaks if you can. Walk around the office, walk around the house, whatever it is. Clear your head, but get the blood flowing. If you gotta do some jumping jacks, but yeah, I want to give you a few that you can do more or less like at your desk. I want you to think of the spine health in threes. Like if you can move your spine back and forth, left and right, and twist it, like those three different ways every day, that's huge. And maybe even a couple times a day, right? So think of like when you're stretching, what are you doing? You're moving you're moving the vertebrae in the spine. So if you've heard of cat cow, it's an arch moving your spine and forth. So if you are sitting in a chair, you can do a cat cow stretch. So if your feet are flat on the floor and you bring your hands to your knees, on the inhale, you would arch the back and look up toward the ceiling. On the exhale, you would round the spine and let your head drop forward. And you can do this for 3 to 5 rounds, and more if you like. And then the next for the spinal health, what you can do in a chair at work if you want, it's like an oblique twist.
Mhm.
So if you think of moving your hips and your floor in the opposite direction of your legs. So like kind of like literally like if you were doing a twist. And then the third way to stretch out that spine would be overhead arm stretches. So you take your, you're taking your left arm over, use your right arm to pull and go the opposite direction. And then you take the opposite one and lean over. So just a normal arm stretch. And then
Right.
after that, anything you need to do to kind of wiggle around and reset the spine. A couple more. I mentioned jumping jacks. I think that they're great to get the blood flowing. But even just calf raises, like as you're standing waiting in line to, to
Yeah, high
walk.
knees or something like that,
Yeah,
right? For sure.
absolutely. A
Yep.
cool one for the core is the wall sit. I don't know if that everyone remembers doing this one, but basically you stand with your back against the wall and you slide down until you're almost 90 degrees and you hold this position for 15 to 30 seconds longer if possible. This is really going to strengthen the core. Why do you do core exercises? To support the spine, right? We want to protect the spine and we want to strengthen the spine. And then two more, a little more advanced. One is the desk push-up. So it's exactly what it sounds like. If your desk is sturdy enough, you could go ahead and do some push-ups, really opening up like the chest and remembering to breathe. But with a physical movement will help expand the chest, the lungs, and to your body. Oh, we're safe. We could take a breath. We can relax. And then one last one is just a tricep dip. So if you hold the edge of your chair like you're boosting up, like you're gonna put a booster under your seat, and you lift your bottom and your thighs up, that is really helpful to align the spine, to strengthen your triceps, and to readjust your hip structure. So any that you'd like to add, Brian? I know we could talk
No,
about.
I totally agree with everything. That's going to also balance out that spine issue that we all have, that so many of us have, that hooked over hunch figure that everyone's getting now, not only just because we're not taking care of the spine, but because of us sitting in front of desks all the time. So you have to try hourly, at lunch, during your break, to get a lot of these in. Even if it's just stretching, cat-cow stretches, something to counteract that constantly hunched over focus on your computer screen is absolutely critical. And it's going to make you more productive at work as well, because you're going to be opened up. You're going to have more of a flow. You're not going to be so complacent and so tensed up. So yeah, absolutely. Get moving, and it's super important. We're going to do more on this in future episodes for sure.
Yeah, and look up. You did remind me with the devices. We're looking down too much. Not over it. And look up at the sky and make that a spiritual practice. Like how much bigger the world is than maybe what we are micromanaging or getting stuck on. Like take a look at the beautiful universe that's out there, at the sky, at the clouds, at the moon, at the sun. And yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you for all of your insights as usual. Thank you, listeners, followers, part of the Year One Self ecosystem, folks, for joining us today. Remember that a clear and healthy body is essential for a clear mind and a connected spirit. So if you found this session helpful, please add us, subscribe to us, check us out, YouTube, Instagram, youroneself.com, TaraO'Neill.com. Keep nurturing your whole self. Keep striving to be your best self. And as always, peace, love, and self-discovery.